Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to drop in and do hopefully a very quick video about how to make these cards. I posted it on the Stamper Swap site, and people asked me, how did you do that? And it's really very simple. But I thought, you know what, I can do this real quick, share it with you, and then you guys can turn them into your own creations. So I'm not going to go crazy with different dies and stuff like that. I'm just going to work with the die that I have, but I would love to see what you came up with after making this background. So mostly I'm going to focus on the background, and I'll tell you a little bit about this die, which I love, and you know, how I came up with this. So anyway, what you're going to need today is some watercolor paper. I have Canson here. I've cut it in, it's a 9 by 12 pad, and I cut them into 4. It's actually going to be a little bit bigger than you're going to need. You're going to have to cut it down for your card front, but there's just no sense to me in cutting off little pieces of it to make it 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'll cut it down later. The other thing you're going to need is a couple of circular motioned type 3D embossing folders. So I've got 2 here, and I'll show you cards from both of them. This one is, I know everybody knows these. This one's called Mosaic, and this one is Tree Rings. So they both work really well with this, but you could really do anything. But for this particular card, going in the circular motion that I'm going to be doing, these cards work the best. So you need a couple of those, of course, an embossing machine. You need some watercolor markers of some sort, or watercolor paint, something that you can move around. And these cards, I believe I used my zigs, various zigs. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to change it up, and I'm going to use my Altenew and Jane Davenport markers. I've got a can of them here in various colors. Some of these are Altenew. As I said, some are Jane Davenport that I bought at Michael's years ago. So I'm going to use those because they're liquid in them. Their watercolor is vibrant, number one, and number two, it's very fluid. So I don't feel like I'm drying up my markers writing on watercolor paper to turn around and wet it after that. So, you know, if you use zigs much, you know what I'm talking about. So anyway, you need a sanding block. This one's old and discolored. A die of some sort. And let me just tell you quickly about this die. This is just one of my very favorite dies. It's called the Birthday Trio, and it's from Gina K Designs. And I like it because, you know, you put it together and you can go with, you can do the lettering any way you want. But I'm going to show you how I did this to match the card and so forth. But so for the purpose of today's card, it's the Gina K Birthday Trio die. Kind of hard to find sometimes. Sometimes it's just sold out everywhere. And then I think the last thing you might need will be I just use this kind of paint to do splatters with. You don't have to do splatters, but for me, because I wanted to tie in the black backgrounds that in the black on it that I've used, I threw some black splatters on it just to kind of pull some black in, okay? Okay, let me just show you also, because I don't have the card still. Remember on 3D embossing folders that you can kind of turn them either way. So I wanted to show you quickly, this is the tree ring embossing folder done up. I haven't turned it into a card yet. And then this is the Mosaic again, but this is where I did the back side of it. So you can see that you can flip it either way, and it's really cool. I gave a card out with this the other day to a little girl, a young lady that turned 18, and she just was thrilled with the card. So she kind of liked that backwards look. Okay, let me just get started on this, what I do. Set everything aside here. So you're going to take a piece of your watercolor paper. Also, the last thing I forgot to mention is I have a cup of water, and I just have a fairly good-sized watercolor painter, whatever you call it, aqua painter. I don't use this like most people use it. I dip it into water and use it, but I like the brushes because they have a stiffness to them that I like. Okay, so let's get started, and I'm gonna pick some colors out. I don't know what I'm gonna use. Let's see, I'll do some green. Let's see. I should have picked colors out ahead of time. How about, no, not that one. Some of these are brand new. I just got them and I haven't taken the little thing out, so I don't want to take time to do that. I'm sorry. Let's see. Let's do something a little different. Let's put a little black in it. And how about some aqua color? And should we do some purple? Let's see. Oh, how about a little bit brighter blue? Let's go with that. You can use as many colors as you want. I'm just going to go with this for now. So what you're going to do is you're going to try to locate as close as you can the center of your paper. And I'm going to start with, let's start with black. Do something totally different. I'm going to start with the black, and I'm just going to squeeze a little out and make a circle of black, okay? And then I'm going to go with the green next, and I'm going to come outside of it a little bit. I don't want them touching yet. Got my southern thing going here. Put some green around the edge of that. And then I think I'll change it up and do some blue. I'm not as concerned about the blue touching the green because they'll turn into just a pretty shade. And we'll go with some of the aqua. And because I only have 4 colors here, I'm going to repeat some. And I generally do try to repeat whatever the center color is on the last row. I try to get some of that in there. So I'm going to go back to the black on this one because this is 6 inches long because I did 1/4 of a sheet. We know that for a A2 card, we're going to be cutting a lot off of it. So I'm going to put some black out here just to bring the black back in. You can also, just so you know, you can also, if I wanted to say, I want to do part of this circle teal and then add some, like I'll just do it right here. I'll add some lime green or some green into it over here, just to put a little bit more green back into it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my aqua painter and dip it in the water, and I'm going to start. Now, let me just show you something real quick. I'm going to start bleeding those out. You can bleed them all the way into each other, which is how most of my cards are done. They're bled all the way into each other so that their colors mix. And then I did, let's see if I can find it. This one, which this is actually it. I didn't bleed them all the way in. You can see where there's white showing here. There was some white down here. I did sand, but underneath where I sanded it, it is white under there. So there's a little bit of white showing on it. You can do that too if you want to. This is, up to you and what you want to do. And then I'm just gonna, let me get some of that black out of there. Start blending some of the green. You can see I'm not quite touching the black too much, and it's okay. I've got a napkin here handy if I want to stop the bleed like that. But it really is not going to matter that much when you put it in the embossing folder. And next I'm going to come in and blend in some of the blue. It's kind of a sloppy process at this point. You're just trying to get some nice colors on there and then let the embossing folder do much of the work. It takes a good bit of water to make these all blend in together. But you can see where I did put that green on there, where it's showing up again. And it will really show up on the, after the embossing folder is done. So I'm gonna come back and do some more of the blue. And I know you're thinking, well, I didn't want to do that. This is nothing. This was nothing. Well, it is. It's simple. Anybody can do this. Most of you have the supplies that you could do this with. For example, watercolor paints work fine on this. I just typically don't pull my watercolor paints out that much, but they would absolutely work fine with this. you would just want to put them down a little heavier with pigment and then come back and water it down from there. So you wouldn't want it to be too terribly full of water when you lay them down. You want to have more color on there. That's why I really like these Altenew markers and Jane Davenport, because they do have a lot of pigment in them, and then you can lighten them up like I'm doing here with the watercolor brush. And so I've got some white in here. That's fine. I'm not going to worry about it. It's really not going to show that much. And the other thing I mentioned, I failed to mention, was a little heat gun, just so I can dry it. So I apologize. Let me do this real quick. Okay, I failed to get one thing, so let me grab a little scrap of watercolor paper. I do keep all my little scraps of watercolor paper for things like this when I've actually cut them off. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the same colors while I've got them out, and I am going to make a piece that I can cut the happy out of so that I have all these colors in it to match. So the happy doesn't take up tons of space, so I don't need to use real wide markings of color. I just want to try to get as many of the colors in there as I can, and then I will, as best I can, blend them together without them getting too muckied up in with all the water. So let's see what we can do. And I'll show you one that's been cut so you can see what I'm talking about. And there's the black. And so I want to tap it out so it doesn't keep bleeding and dry it as fast as I can. And you'll see that although it's a little bit lighter, it will blend with this background. This is one I did for, you can see where I've cut it out, and I believe it was, oh, okay, it's actually this card. It was to go with the wood grain background. Okay, so you can see where I cut it out of there. So I always just make that while I'm at it. So let me just show you a couple. These are two backgrounds that I did this morning just to make sure I knew what I was doing. This is the one that had had more white space in it. This one had no white space in it. So what I did is I just did a long little panel of color so that I could cut the happy out twice to put on here. And the thing that you can do that I want to remind you about is, I use black and white as my accents because I really think they show up good, but you can take a color from that palette and use it. But just so you know, so this is the one I chose, or I made to put on this background, but I could have glued the happy down to this white background and then used the birthday in black over it. And it wouldn't have been near as much black. So it would have been the happy on top and then the birthday below. So you have options with that. And as I said, of course, you have any option that you want. You're unlimited with options. The next step is to take this and to put it through an embossing folder. And I think with this one, I'm just gonna do it the way that the embossing folder is made to go. So I'm gonna put this in, and I just try to line up in the light, the bullseye, the black part, or whatever your center color is, with the center of the embossing folder. So even if it doesn't fit exactly in there and you have some hanging out the side, it's fine because, as I said, this is a 4.5-inch card wide and 6 inches long. But you can, if you can kind of see, I don't know, I know the light shines on it, but the black is here and it starts going out from that. So let me run it through my Big Shot real quick. And I usually run it through 2 or 3 times. If I can get it to go through. These 3D embossing folders, sometimes they're really a tight fit and you just never know how to sandwich it sometimes. So I actually don't really have much of a sandwich. I have my magnetic plate and I have 2 pieces of chipboard that I put on top of it that just seems to be the right amount for me. Okay. And here I've run it through 3 times and you can see it's cracking just a little bit. I probably should have dampened it, the back side of it. If you spray it to get it to really emboss well, you want to do it on the back side where the color isn't, or your colors are going to start going all over. And then what I would do is I would take my sanding block and I would just start sanding it like this. And this is where you do want it to be dry on the front. You don't want it to be wet because it could tear it up. You just want to sand off some color so that it really shows the effect of the 3D folder. And what you can go back and do after you finish sanding this some, because when you're sanding it, you're putting some pressure on it that's going to take away some of the depth and the texture. You can go back and put it back in your embossing folder, and it will typically line up and fit. Like right now, it's in there. It's fitting exactly where it was. It doesn't look like it is, but I guess because of all the white. Yeah, that's totally right back in its spot. And I'm going to run it through 2 more times, and just to make sure that the 3D is truly very 3D still, because it'll just look better. Okay, so here we go, and that's done. The only thing I have left to do would be to cut out my happy birthday die, and I'm going to not do that on camera because you guys know how to do that. But as you can see, I would just put the happy across there, and I know that it would match. And I could easily use the black background and the white lettering with this one because it does have black on it. And I wouldn't have to splatter anything, but if you know me and you've watched any of my videos, I'm a splatter-holic. So I would get my black paint out and splatter away. So I'll do that real quick because then I can set it aside to dry it. And I typically try to let the paint drops dry on their own. I try not to heat set those. And I can really use, this brush is a little big, but I can use the same aqua painter that I had. I usually use a shorter one that has more stiffness to it. But what I do, I've showed this before many times, is how I splatter is I just put a little bit on a block that has a sharp edge to it, and I turn. It's getting ready to drip. Turn and splatter, splatter. And it doesn't, you can do as much or as little as you want. It's going to look good. So that's it. I have too much stuff on my desk. That's it, guys. Simple, super simple. I hope that if you're on the Stamper Swap site, which is where I typically post these, but I know other people follow me on YouTube, but if you're on the Stamper Swap site, that you will do this, try it, and then post a picture to me of what you came up with, because I would love to see it. And the other thing I wanted to say is, just real quick, you don't have to, I got black paint on me, you don't have to put things right in the center. On this particular one, I wanted the center to show up because I wanted that yellow to pop out, so I put the happy birthday die lower. Many of them I put right in the center. It was like, Shazam, it's right there in front of you, but you can do whatever you want. You could put the Umbrella Man or one of the silhouettes on here. I think that would look really cool. I I might actually take this background and do an umbrella man with a different happy birthday wish on it, because I love the umbrella man, or some of the other silhouette dies. But that's it, guys. I hope it was helpful to you. I hope I answered any questions. If I didn't, just message me, or you know, put a comment on the YouTube, and I do my best to try to read those and respond to them as I can. So anyway, I hope you all have a great day. Thanks for joining me.